Vrndavan Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar Gopi Jana Balava Giri Baladhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai Shishi Gaunitai ki Sankirtan Yagya Ke Gaur Premanande. So devotees, I'm very happy to be here with you all. And I'm assuming everyone understands English because my Hindi is not the best. My Tamil is worse. So we're forced to stick to English. But I was informed that the term I heard, I was informed that you wanted to hear some Vraja Katha. Was that what you said? Vraja Katha. Theek hai. All right. Well, okay. So, yes, there's a lot of Vrajakatha. There's an awful lot, actually. But I've selected a few little stories and items. First of all, though, let us chant some prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Jatarne Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And I offer my respects to everyone here, all of you devotees. So, the thing is that in the spiritual world, in the kingdom of God, there are different levels. Every single one is much, much higher than our level here in Singapore. But still there are different levels. First level, in a broad sense, in a general sense, is called Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha literally translates as a place of no anxiety. And it's part of the kingdom of God. And everyone there is a pure devotee of the Lord. Absolutely. But they have a particular type of mood, you could say, is that they all understand very clearly that the Lord, who generally there actually is known as Narayan, he's a form of Lord Krishna, but he is known as Narayan. So they're all very clear in their minds. He is the Supreme Lord. He is God. Therefore, he must be treated as God, means with just the greatest respect and awe and reverence. There's no informality. There's no informality at all. Yes, it's like, you could say, like dealing with a king, something like that. Yeah, very formal, and you've got to be very respectful. And in some countries, in the law courts, if you're a lawyer and you're presenting to the judge, in some of those courts, you have to walk out backwards. Yeah, you can't just turn around and walk out. You've got to walk out backwards. You can't turn your back to the judge. It's, at least the idea is one of respect. How really respectful they are may be another thing, but at least the idea is. So that's Vaikuntha. Now in Vaikuntha even, at least there are two main levels. The second level, which is now is higher, is Ayodhya, is the place of Lord Ram, Lord Ramachandra, Sita Ram, Lakshman and Hanuman. And within the Vaikuntha realm, within that realm where the Supreme Lord is seen and dealt with in this extremely respectful and awe and reverence type of way. So this is the highest, Ayodhya. And there is to some degree, but not a great degree, but to some degree, there is, due to greater affection, there is a degree of informality. Like I'm sure you're all familiar with Ram Leela, etc. And when Lord Ram, at one point towards the end, Lord Ram embraced Hanuman. And Hanuman felt very embarrassed because he felt that, this is God is embracing me. What do I do? Should I embrace him back? So often he's portrayed, Lord Ram is embracing him, but Hanuman's sort of like this. He's not like that, fully embracing Ram back. Then we go on to the level of Goloka Vrndavan, where there are 3 levels. The first and the lowest, relatively, is the level of Dwaraka. And there Krishna is a prince, and he's a married man, 16,108 wives. And he expands himself into that many forms to be with each one simultaneously. But there's definitely a degree of informality. Yes, that the wives, well, I think many of you ladies here are wives. And anyway, a husband-wife relationship, it's an affectionate relationship, and it's not like in the law court where they have to, the judge, you have to address the judge usually as Your Honor. When the judge gets home, his wife does not say, Your Honor, if it pleases Your Honor, something like that. In fact, she may say, listen, can you take the rubbish out? Or something like that. Yes, it's a different mood. But still, there's some formality. They're respectful. If you're familiar with the pastimes at all in Dwaraka, you would know that one time Lord Krishna sort of, you could say, challenged Rukmini, who is his main wife, that, why did you marry me? You shouldn't have married me. You are from a Kshatriya background, royal background. I'm a cowherd boy. That's my background. So how did you end up with me? What happened? What went wrong? And so Lord Krishna said that, it may still not be too late. You could just sort of exit and find a proper, so qualified young man. And Rukmini fainted. It says that she fell down just like a banana palm in a storm, just crash like that. Yeah. She didn't challenge what Krishna said. She was, one of these generally she wasn't, but at this point, she was very sort of humble and quiet wife. So then in Mathura, you go up a stage to Mathura, and there's a greater degree of informality and a greater degree of love. And then finally you get to Vrndavan itself. And there, we're talking about in the kingdom of God, and there's so much love. This is the point. The love for Krishna is so extremely strong that they just forget that he's God. And as far as they're concerned, like his cowherd boyfriends, they go out herding the cows. And as far as they're concerned, Krishna is just one of the cowherd boys, just one of their friends. He's a special one of their friends. But still, he's not worshipable. He's one of their friends. So there's an interesting little, talking about Vrajakatha, sort of incident. It happens sometimes. They're out there herding the cows out in the fields, in the forests, out at Govardhan Hill, and sometimes they have team competitive games. 2 teams, and 2 boys are the heads, one of each team, and they choose their team members. Now the thing is, because Krishna is so kind to his devotees and he loves his devotees so much, when there's a competition just one-on-one, then he always lets one of them win. I mean, he can win anything. It's just, there's just no question of it being even a hint of difficult. But he lets them win. If there's a running race, he lets them win, and he comes in last. If there's a wrestling match, he lets them beat him. If there's a swimming race across the Yamuna River, he lets them win. So when it comes to these team sports and they're choosing their team members, I'll take you, and then the other one, I'll take you, and then I'll take you, and you'll take him, and no one chooses Krishna. Because Krishna always loses. So at the end, they say to they've chosen everyone. And the 2 leaders say to each other, you want Krishna? The other one says, no, you can have him. It's all right. Yeah, because they see him as being a loser. But actually it's his affection. Yeah. So that sort of mood is there. Then, as far as his parents are concerned, of course, God has no parents, obviously. Rather, he is the parent of everyone. But in the pastimes, he has his parents, Nanda and Yashoda. And as far as they're concerned, he is their little boy. And there's one nice pastime. Yeah, I think we have a little challenge here. We've got to shorten this. Got to shorten this. Pull it back. Back. That's the way. And now tighten it. It's the weight, you see. And we'll do microphone stand prayers. So one time at Nandagram, for those of you who are familiar with the Vrndavan area, Nandagram is part of the greater Vrndavan area. It's a region, you could say. So, one of Nanda Maharaja's brothers, Upananda, he called a meeting of all the adults there. And he said, because everyone's treating Krishna like he's a little boy and, he's not to be taken very seriously. Certainly not like he's God and, you got to bow down and things like that. Not at all. And in fact, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, they discipline Krishna. You may know the story, you probably know the story extremely well, of the Damodar Leela. Krishna being naughty, and Mother Yashoda decided to tie him up, and she did. Yes. So these things go on. But now Upananda called a meeting, and he said, you know, everyone, I have been thinking about Krishna and all the things which happened to him and all the different leelas and adventures and drama. You know, some demons come to try and kill him. I've been thinking about Krishna, and I think I have understood that Krishna is not just a little village boy. It has occurred to me that, as Gargamuni said at the name-giving ceremony of Krishna and Balaram, that's in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, that he said, this boy is very special. He may be a demigod. He might even be Narayan himself. So I've been thinking about it, Upananda said, and it seems to me that's true. In fact, I think that he is some sort of avatar of the Lord. I think that this Krishna is the supreme pure, the supreme truth, the supreme powerful. I'm thinking like this. So therefore, Mother Yashoda, you've got to stop tying him up with ropes and waving a stick at him. And Nanda Maharaj, you don't speak to him like he's a naughty little boy. You've got to be more respectful, because he's very special. He may even be an avatar of Narayan. And Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, said, wait a minute, just hold on. Listen, he's my son, and I know him better than you. You say he may be the supreme truth. Well, I have news for you. He is a liar. We catch him stealing butter. We catch him in the act. And he says, no, it wasn't me. Of course not. And we catch him stealing the gopis' clothes. And he says, no, it was someone else. It wasn't me. And we saw him. He's a liar. So don't tell me he's the supreme truth. It's not right. And you say he's the supreme powerful. But whenever there's a thunderstorm at night, he comes running into my bedroom. Peter, Daddy, let me come into your bed with you. I'm frightened. So he's not the supreme powerful. And you say, maybe he's the supreme pure. That's ridiculous. You know, his mother dresses him up in nice clean clothes. He goes out, and before you know, he's rolling in the dirt, chasing the cows, holding onto their tails, getting dragged along, and she has to change his clothes again 5 minutes later. So he's not the supreme pure. And this boy, what a character. If there's not enough sugar in the sweets, he complains. So listen, don't tell me that he's the Supreme Lord or an avatar or something. He's my son. And if he does some nonsense, I will chastise him. Because he's my son, I have to train him. And Upananda said, yeah, actually, you're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. I don't know where I got this idea from. And everyone started laughing. Supreme truth. Oh no, that's ridiculous. Supreme pure. What a joke. Because they have a very informal relationship with Krishna. Just very affectionate, loving relationship. And the love is so strong, it obscures his being God. He is God, no less than anywhere else. But because of their affection for him, they don't see it. They don't see it. So when we talk about Vrajakatha, we're talking about that sort of thing. And, we have to be a little careful, you could say, because we're not in a position, we're not on a level where we can start relating with Krishna like that. We need to keep the respectful attitude and the mood of being the servant, and not like Mother Yashoda ordering him around. Like in the Damodar Leela, she was breastfeeding Krishna. The milk on the stove inside was boiling over. She ran to save it. Krishna got upset because she just put him down. And so he did some mischief. He broke she was churning yogurt into butter in a fairly substantial sort of pot. He broke it. And out came all this buttermilk, yogurt, some butter, is like half formed. She's halfway through the process. And there's a big mess. Then he climbed up, and there are some pots of butter, yogurt, cream, milk, etc., hanging from the ceiling. Somehow he climbed up and broke those, and the contents all came out. So there was probably at least 100 liters of assorted dairy products on the floor. Talk about a housewife's nightmare. And he had eaten so much butter, he'd had enough, and he was feeding it to the monkeys. And they had had enough. So the monkeys, he's offering it. Take it, take it. They're pulling back, they're refusing. And Mother Yashoda came in and saw this. And Krishna, he's feeling irritated by Mother Yashoda because she was breastfeeding him. Suddenly, she just put him down on the floor just like that. So he wanted to kind of get at her a little bit. So Krishna said, Mata, you know what? Just see, your butter is so bad, even the monkeys won't eat it. Yes. So then she understood. Got to discipline him. Can't just let him get away with this. If I don't discipline him, he's going to grow up bad. Now he's stealing butter. In the future, he may steal motor cars or buffalo wagons. And he may become the head of the Musla mafia. The Makan, sorry, wrong language. the Makan Mafia. And people will wonder, what sort of useless mother did this fellow have when he was young? So she felt she had to discipline him. But anyway, I think you all know that story, isn't it? Inside out and outside in, from this side and that side, up and down. I could probably tell you a couple of things about it. Did you know what happened at the end? I mean, really at the end, like really right at the end, is that after he knocked the trees down, the demigods came out, offered prayers, then they went back to the heavenly planets. Mother Yashoda had not returned yet. Nanda Maharaj came. You know that story? You do? He knows everything, is he? Sab malum hai. So Nanda Maharaj came and saw that there's Krishna who's still tied up. And he untied Krishna and he asked Krishna, who tied you up? And Krishna, in a very annoyed voice, said, it was Mata, mother. And Nanda Maharaj said, oh, you must have been naughty. And Krishna said, no, I'm never naughty. And Nanda Maharaj said, well, why did she tie you up? And Krishna said, I don't know. She was just being mean. And Nanda Maharaj said, well, listen, okay, you're untied now. You go to your mother. Go to your mother. And Krishna said, no, I'm not going to my mother. I'm going to go with you. And Nanda Maharaj said, but listen, I'm going out into the fields now, because Krishna's small. He's just a little boy at this point. I'm going to the fields now. I'm going to herd the cows. You know, you got to drink your mother's milk. So I don't think you should come with me. And Krishna said, I will milk the cows and have some of their milk. And Nanda Maharaj said, well, who are you going to play with? Normally you play with your mother. And Krishna said, I will play with the cows and I will play with you. And Nanda Maharaj could see, I got to do something here. I got to really sort of, address the situation. So just acting, putting on an act, he raised his hand and he said, shall I beat her? Meaning his mother Yashoda. Shall I beat her? Do you want me to beat her? And Krishna's love for his mother came out again. He said, no, don't hit her. He wasn't going to hit her, but just to stimulate Krishna. So then Krishna went to Mother Yashoda, and they both sat together and cried. So, in Vrndavan there are many pastimes. There's all sorts of pastimes. Let me tell you another type of pastime. Have you heard of Purnamasi? Are you familiar? I don't know how sort of familiar you are with all these things. They know of Purnamasi. They do. Okay. Purnamasi is Yoga Maya in Vrndavan. She is managing the pastimes with Vrindadevi. So yeah, and you know of Kamsa. And Kamsa sent so many demons to try to kill Krishna, asuras, rakshasas. He sent so many. But have you heard of him going himself into Vrndavan to kill Krishna. You haven't. Have you heard of him going himself? Oh, you have. Maybe you should be telling the stories. Well, generally, not a lot of devotees know about that. He sent all these demons one by one. They're just being killed. They're not returning. They're not coming back. But it's not well known that he did go himself one time. But he had a very sort of difficult experience. He was going, he's the king. So he's going in his chariot from Mathura, and if you know the area, it's not far. It's 15 kilometers from Mathura into at least current day Vrndavan. But there is a boundary between Mathura and Vrndavan, because spiritually they're different places, and they're different they have different natures to some degree. So one day Kamsa decided, all these demons, they've all failed miserably. I'm going to do it myself. So he went. And just when he crossed the boundary into Vrndavan itself, who should he meet but Purnamasi? Purnamasi is an elderly lady. She has white hair, white hair, and she wears a red sari. So Purnamasi just stopped him and said, "Where do you think you're going?" And he said, "Listen, I'm the king. I am the king here, and I have my business here, so move out of the way." And she told him, "Listen, you want to enter Vrndavan. You have to be passed by me." So he got off his chariot and told her, don't you treat me like this. I am the king. And you know what Purnamasi did? She took her stick out. It's like a wand. And tapped him on the shoulder. And Kamsa transformed into a little gopi girl with the same Kamsa mind. But a little gopi girl, like kind of preschool, 4 years old, something. And Kamsa couldn't believe it at all. So Purnamasi said, "Yes, you want to enter Vrndavan, you have to be trained up. First lesson," she told him, "you got to learn how to make cow dung patties, like all the gopi girls. First thing, you see the cows over there? Go and pick up the cow dung and make cow dung patties." And Kamsa said, "I'm not going to do that." And she said, You want my stick again?" Off he went. Now he's picking up the cow dung and making it into cow dung patties. After a while, Purnamasi said, "You're doing quite well. Now for lesson number 2. You see, the best cow dung is cow dung which is caught before it touches the ground." So what you do, there's all the cows. You got to watch. When you see one of the cows lifts her tail up, then you know, she's about to pass some cow dung, and you just run in there and you catch it. And there you go. And then you make it into a patty because that's the best cow dung. So Kamsa really didn't want to do it, but he didn't want the stick again. So there was Kamsa now running around after the cows, and this cow lifts her tail, he races over, and sometimes he missed, and it, went over his face, and it was quite a situation. So after a while, Purnamasi said, "You're doing all right. Now for lesson number 3. And you know what happened? Kamsa ran out across the boundary to his chariot, and then he transformed back into Kamsa, and he went back to Mathura. But he never came back because he didn't want to find out what is lesson number 3. And that's why you don't find a story of Kamsa actually coming and trying to kill Krishna. Yeah. That's the story you know? Okay. All right. Okay, now let me tell you one story. It's a nice story. It's good if you've got children, small children. Yeah. One time at Nandagram, Krishna, Mother Yashoda was down by Yashoda Kund. If you know the Nandagram area, it's down the bottom, just out a bit, in the direction of Varshana, just a couple of 100 meters. So there she was, and she's washing the clothes for the family, and Krishna's there, and Krishna is being mischievous. And Mother Yashoda didn't know what to do to keep him, under control. So she thought of an idea. She told Krishna, "Listen, come here. Krishna, if you're not a good boy, you know what will happen? The how will get you. The how." Krishna said, "The what? What's a how? I never heard of a how." And Mother Yashoda said, yes. He's very big, with long hair and big teeth. And he loves eating naughty little boys. And Krishna was very good for about 10 minutes. And Mother Yashoda then said, "Krishna, don't forget, you got to be good. Otherwise, the howl will get you." She's just made up a howl. Yes. The howl will get you. He's got big claws and 3 eyes. And he loves eating naughty little boys. And Krishna was very good for 5 minutes. And then Krishna went outside. Suddenly, devotees and friends, Krishna came running back in. Mata! The howl's coming! The howl is just outside! And Mother Yashoda, of course, just made up the howl. But now she's feeling anxious. "Oh, my poor little boy, I scared him." And she told Krishna, "Listen, it's all right. There is no howl. I just made up the howl. So don't worry." And Krishna said, "No! There is a howl. He's coming right now." And Mother Yashoda really felt bad, and she told Krishna, "Listen, there is no howl. So just relax." And suddenly, devotees, you know what happened? From around the corner came a howl. And Mother Yashoda couldn't believe it. I just made up this how. There is no how. And suddenly there's a how. What is going on? And you know what happened? Nandishvara Shiva, who's up by the temple there on top of the hill, he came down, and there were actually 3 hows. He turned them into stone. And there's 1 or 2 of them still there in stone. And Mother Yashoda is just in extreme bewilderment. What is going on here? There is no how. I just made up the how. The how doesn't exist. And suddenly there's a how. What is this? And then Krishna, and of course we don't really have children here so much, impressionable little children. Krishna said, if my mata says there's a how, there's a how. Whatever my mata says is right. And just for any children, just remember that, and you'll be okay. Life will be all right. Just remember, whatever your mother says is right. So that's the story of the hows from Nandagram. Let me tell you a story about, it's about Krishna and Radharani, but it's also, it's focusing on Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. That Rupa Goswami was staying in where current day Vrndavan town is. There was no town at that point, but there were different pastime places, sort of like a concentration of pastime places. And he would write there. And when he had finished composing something, oftentimes he would take the text out to Radhakund, Shamakund, where Sanatana Goswami was living. It's some distance, 20 kilometers or something. So he would take it out and have Sanatana Goswami check it. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he wrote it's a poem actually, called Chatu Pushpanjali. It is available. It's still existent. And it's existent in English also. Yeah, written in Sanskrit, but using Bengali script. So in it, anyway, he brought it out to four offerings of flowers. And it's a poem glorifying Srimati Radharani. So Sanatana Goswami started reading it. But when he came to the last line of the first verse, the verses are, little bigger verses. He came to a line which said, Srimati Radharani has long black hair, and she keeps it tied in a single plait down her back. A single plait, long plait. And when she walks, it moves. And when it moves, it looks like a black snake. And Sanatana Goswami saw this, and he thought, what is this? Srimati Radharani, black snake? That's not nice. But this is Rupa Goswami has written this. How could he make a mistake or write something inappropriate? But black snake, Radharani? So he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. So he didn't do anything. And except worry about it. A few days later, Rupa Goswami came back and said, "Have you finished checking the poem?" And Sanatana Goswami didn't know what to say. But he said, "Well, yeah, I'm almost there. Just, bear with me." And Rupa Goswami said, "I need it soon as possible, please. Can you just finish it now while I'm here?" So Sanatana Goswami was really just in anxiety. He took the manuscript and went and sat on the bank of Shamakund, just looking out across Shamakund and just praying to Krishna, "Please help me to deal with this, because I don't want to insult him by questioning, why did you say her hair's like a black snake?" So he's sitting there worrying. And then a group of local village girls came down to the Kund on the other side. It's only like 25 meters across, or it's quite close. And they started playing a ball game, throwing a ball back and forth and jumping and laughing and just really into this game. And Sanatana Goswami's watching them and thinking and watching them and thinking. And suddenly he noticed one of them, a black snake, started crawling up her back. So Sanatana Goswami jumped up and he shouted across the Kund, "Snake! Watch out! Snake!" And the girls said, Where's the snake? Where's the snake?" "On her back!" And they looked on that girl's back and they just started roaring with laughter. And they said, "That's not a snake, it's her hair." And they laughed, and Sanatana Goswami felt embarrassed. And suddenly, devotees, those girls vanished. Suddenly they were just not there. Not that they ran off quickly, they just disappeared. And he understood. That was Srimati Radharani and the gopis. And they came just to show me that whatever Rupa Goswami says is right. So then Rupa Goswami came and said, "Listen, I got to take the manuscript. Can I take it? Have you finished?" And Sanatana said, "I just finished." And Rupa Goswami said, Did you like it? What did you think of it?" And Sanatana Goswami said, "It is really wonderful. Particularly that part where you said that her hair is like a black snake. That's really nice. I really like that." So you can get that poem, actually. You can probably just Google it, I suppose. And anyway, or I can give you a copy and you can read it. It's nice. The story of the black snake. Here's another one about a devotee and Radha and Krishna, Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami lived at Radha Kund for 49 years and basically developed Radha Kund from just being, sort of like a big puddle in a rice field. So he had a really special program. Maybe you know what his program is, but I'll just say anyway. He would chant 64 rounds a day. Theek hai, chaliye, are you ready? Tayar hai. 64 rounds a day for starters. Then he would give class about Lord Chaitanya for 3 hours a day. Then he would offer obeisances to deities 1,000 times every day. Then he would offer, and not just, bending over, but dandavats on the ground. Then he would offer obeisances to 2,000 devotees a day. That was his program. Nice program. Oh, have a go. No, don't have a go, because you're not ready for it. None of us are ready for it. So, when he would chant his 64 rounds, oftentimes, his chanting was on such a level, and he was on such a level, he would enter into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna and become just oblivious to the external world and just be there with them in their pastimes, and after a while come back out to external consciousness. So one day he did that. He was there in the pastimes, and Radha and Krishna were having some sweet rice, and they had a big pot of sweet rice, many liters. And Raghunath Das Goswami was there in his manjari form, because he is a manjari or manjari in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, along with Rupa Goswami, who's Rupa Manjari, Sanatan Goswami, who's generally taken to be Rati Manjari. So there he was, right there, in his female form, little small girl, helping Radha and Krishna with their sweet rice. So Radha and Krishna had enough sweet rice, and they told the manjaris, their assistant, young girls, you can have the rest. But there was a lot. And they, it was simply nectar to start off with, but because it's the Mahaprasad of Radha and Krishna, it's just super duper nectar. And the manjaris, they ate and ate and ate, and then they ate more and more, and then they ate more, and they really ate a lot for little girls, even for big adults. Then he came back to external consciousness, and it was time for him to give his 3-hour class. But he told the devotees, I'm not feeling so well, my stomach's a little upset. I won't give class today. And this is very unusual, very unusual. His stomach is upset. He's normally eating 1 leaf cup of buttermilk, and that's it for the day. So they called an Ayurvedic doctor. And you know what these doctors are like? They do a pulse reading. You must have had that done. And they're generally, I don't know about generally, but at least sometimes, maybe generally, these days, they're not really. They don't really know how to read the pulse properly. And they may say something to you like, Have you got a cough? Yeah, I've got a bit of a cough. Aha, yes, I can tell. You've got a cold. But anyway, this fellow was expert. Taking a pulse reading. Aha. Oh. He said, you know what? Raghunath Das Goswami has indigestion from eating too much sweet rice. And the devotees thought, no, this is ridiculous. He has not eaten sweet rice for about 30 years. And they said, no, come on, that's not possible. Take another reading. Okay, all right. He said, yeah, it's confirmed. Indigestion from too much sweet rice. And the devotees told him, you know, that's totally impossible. You are bogus. Get out. Just get out. So they kicked the Ayurvedic doctor out, and they got another one. And the other one, the second one, he came, and it's the same thing, you know. Okay, all right. He said, you know what? Raghunath Das Goswami has indigestion from eating too much sweet rice. And the devotees didn't know what to think. And Raghunath Das Goswami didn't say anything. He just smiled and took rest. So, let me tell you a nice story from Govardhan Hill. And, you know, you may be familiar with this story, particularly Prabhu here. He seems to be a bit of an expert. Anyway, there's this story from Govardhan Hill that one time, well, you know what happens sometimes is that in the pastimes, sometimes when Krishna is mischievous with Radharani, and he does something, you know, a little mischievous, let's just say, Radharani gets into a state, it's called man or mana in Sanskrit. Man meaning anger. But it's transcendental anger. It's not like us, you know, when someone steals our samosa off our plate. Then we get angry. I'm going to get him. Not like that. It's just part of the pastimes. She gets a bit angry, and she may walk away and just not talk to him for a while. So this is what happened in this case. Radharani was angry with Krishna for some reason, and she's walking away. Krishna's following after her, saying, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Whatever, he said something wrong. I didn't mean it. And, you know, please. And Radharani's just walking. On the hill, devotees, was one big cobra who was a devotee of Krishna. Yes. And he saw this happen. And this big cobra thought to himself, I have to help my Lord here in this situation. I've got to help him. So they're walking that way down to the sort of southern or southeastern end of the hill. And so they're walking. Krishna's behind Radharani. Radharani's got her head in the air. She won't speak to Krishna. And suddenly this big cobra, really big, comes around in front of Radharani and just lifts up right in front of her and hisses at her. And Radharani immediately panics. Help! And what does she do when she's in danger? Help, Krishna, help me. She turned around and grabbed hold of Krishna. Save me, save me. And Krishna was very happy. This was the snake's idea, of course, his strategy. So the snake is looking at Krishna, and Krishna's holding Radharani, looking over her shoulder at the snake. And you know what the snake did? The snake went. And Krishna went. back to the snake. So, they all lived happily ever after. Yes. Now, let me just tell you about a very important aspect of Krishna Leela. Like an example, in the Govardhan Leela, Krishna's holding the hill. Little finger, left hand, 7 days, 7 nights. All the bridge buses, all of them are surrounding him. And they're all just looking at him. Even the gopis. The gopis are looking at Krishna. Normally the gopis can't look at Krishna because their parents will catch them. Because the parents know this is the thing here. And chastity is such an important factor, in the life of any decent woman, actually, but particularly there in the very traditional culture, it's just, it's just totally impossible for the boys and girls to sort of start checking each other out. He looks nice. No, they can't do that at all. But they like looking at Krishna. But now they can just look at Krishna. Because everyone else is looking at Krishna and no one's looking at them. They're looking at Krishna holding the hill. But what they normally have to do, you know what they normally have to do? When Krishna comes back in the evening from herding the cows, everyone gathers to meet him, and they gather also, the gopis. They have been in the village all day. And now Krishna's returning, and everyone's there, and they're there. But they can't look at Krishna, because their parents are sort of looking at Krishna and looking at them, and looking at Krishna and looking at them. And they don't want to be caught. So therefore, devotees and friends and family members, the gopis have developed an amazing strategy. It is called the sidelong glance. Have you heard of the sidelong glance? Means your parents are looking straight at you, and Krishna's over here. And you want to look at Krishna, but you don't want your parents to see. You can't do it like this. You got to look so quickly they don't see your eyes move. It's called a sidelong glance. And we have actually practiced doing the sidelong glance. And I want to demonstrate it to you here. All right? We're going to say that Krishna is over this side where Prabhu is. And I've got to look at him so quickly while you're watching me. I got to look so quickly that you can't see my eyes move. You get the idea? So I'm going to do it right now. So now watch my eyes and see if you see my eyes. You watching? Okay, so watch. Did you see that? You didn't see it, did you? You got to be quick. Yes. Anyway, excuse me. So let's see. Can I carry on a little? When should we stop? 10 o'clock, 11? Okay, let me tell you another story. We've got some longer stories too. This is something of a longer story. And you may know it. It's the story of Gopeshwar Shiva. In Vrndavan town, there's the old It's said to be one of the 5,000-year-old deities of Vraja, one of the original ones. It's a Shiva Linga. Shiva Linga. Gopeshwar. Are you familiar with Gopeshwar? You're familiar with Gopeshwar? Okay. Anyway, you probably know the story. But so there's Gopeshwar, and at night, or, for the evening darshan from about 5, they dress him up as a gopi in a sari with jewelry and nose ring and whatnot. So there's a whole story behind it, is that Lord Shiva, when Krishna was in Vrndavan 5,000 years ago, Lord Shiva was watching from Kailash. And Lord Shiva, he's Nataraj. He's a real dancer. He loves dancing. He really loves dancing. And he wanted to go and take part in the rasa dance. So down he came. And he landed on the other side of the Yamuna by what is called Man Sarovar, which is still there. It's a nice lake. They've actually done it up in the last few years. It was just sort of clay sides, but it was still very nice. So anyway, there's Lord Shiva. He lands. Okay, which way to the rasa dance? It's late afternoon. And Purnamasi came and said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to the rasa dance. I'm Lord Shiva. I'm a dancer. And Purnamasi said, no, Krishna is the only male in the rasa dance. You'll have to take a female form. So she dipped Lord Shiva in Mansarovar. He came out as Gopeshwar in a female form with a sari on. Still, Lord Shiva's big, powerful man. So he's still big. He's like a big, powerful girl. I don't know, maybe like one of these girls who does bodybuilding or... Anyway, big. But he's still got, the cobra around the neck, scorpions. He's still got the Ganges coming out, the ashes on his body. Yeah, it looks just like a female version of Lord Shiva. So Purnamasi said, off you go. You can join the rasa dance. So off he went. And he arrived there. And the dance is just about to begin. Everyone's gathering and they're getting ready. And the gopis, they turned around and they saw Gopeshwar, this new gopi, this big gopi, really extraordinary looking gopi who they never saw before. So they surrounded Gopeshwar and said, "Who are you?" Purnamasi had neglected to give him a name. So he couldn't say, well, actually, I'm Lord Shiva. So, they said, so what's your name? What's your name? And Lord Shiva, Gopeshwar said, name. You mean my name? You mean what people call me? Yes, that's what we mean. Oh, my name, I see. Okay, my name. I'm just so excited to come into the dance. I've forgotten my name. Oh, you forgot your name. We understand. It happens all the time. And they said, well, all right. Where do you live? Oh, live. Where do I live? You mean You mean, where do I live? And he couldn't say, well, Kailash, it's up there on the other side somewhere. He said, live, right, yes. Well, you know that village. You go down the road, you turn left, right, and then there's some trees, and you turn right, and you walk down, and you turn left again, and it's that village down there, And the gopi said, don't tell us you forgot the name of your village. And Lord Shiva Gopeshwar said, I just call it home. That's all. Okay, so you forgot the name. Sure, no problem. It happens to everyone. And, what are your parents' names? Oh, parents. You mean like mother, father, like that, you mean? That's right, your parents. And Gopeshwar said, well, I just call them mum and dad, actually. I don't know what their names are. Oh, said the gopis, you don't know your parents' names. Of course you don't. Most of us don't anyway. So don't worry about it. Then they said, listen now. What is that cobra doing around your neck? And Gopeshwar said, oh, him. He's friendly. He's a pet. Everyone's getting one these days. You should get one yourselves. Oh, he's your pet. And those scorpions are too. Yes, they're friendly. They don't bite. All right, that's good. And what is the white stuff over your body? It looks like the ashes of cremated human bodies. And Gopeshwar said, no, latest cosmetic from Paris. Yes, everyone's wearing it. And what about that fountain of water coming out of your head? Oh, that to keep me cool in the hot weather. You should get one too. And the gopi said, listen, you are too strange. You are too weird. You're not going to enter the rasa dance. We're going to beat you up. So they surrounded her. And those gopis, don't underestimate those gopis. They are tough girls. And they're just about to attack him when Purnamasi came and said, wait. Don't hit her. I know her personally. She's a very nice girl, bit eccentric, but she's very nice. So please don't hit her. She wants to enter the rasa dance. And the gopi said, all right, if you say, Purnamasi, we will not beat her up. But she is just too weird. We are not letting her into the rasa dance. She's just not going to take part. So Purnamasi said, all right. Well, you see, she's a big, strong girl. Let her stand one side. She can be, if you're familiar with the term, she can be the bouncer. Do you know what that means? Like the security. Yeah, bodyguard sort of thing. And if anyone comes who is not qualified, she'll chase them away. So the gopis agreed. All right. We'll let her stay as the bouncer. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that at the rasa dance, Vrindadevi is the ticket collector. She checks, do you fit in here or do you not fit in here? And if you don't fit in, she calls Gopeshwar, who chases you away. And, it's not common, but in some of the temples, you see pictures of the rasa dance, and there on one side is Gopeshwar. You can see it's Lord Shiva, but in a female form with a sari on. Particularly if you go to the Gopeshwar temple, then just behind it, sort of around the corner and down about 100 meters, is the, what do they call it? Anyway, where the rasa dance started. Yeah. What do they call it? Not the Razastali. The, Vangsivat. Thank you. Vangsivat. Vangsi, the flute, and Vat, the banyan tree. Yeah. And there's a picture. They have a little altar, actually. And on the altar, they have big altar too, but on the altar, just beneath the banyan tree, there's a picture of the pastime, and you can see Gopeshwar on the side there. Yeah. So there you go. You heard that story before? Not like that. Yeah. I got to think of stories he hasn't heard before. Okay. How about one more? Is that okay? Also, little longer. Or two. No, just one. Okay, let me tell you. I'll tell you a story from Varshana. At Varshana, if you've been there is, on the big parikrama, you go around, and then you go slowly up the hill, and you come to the couple of temples there, the Jaipur temple. Then you go to the main temple, and then you go down the stairs. But on that long parikrama, 5 or 6 kilometers, it's really nice. There's a place called, what's it called? Sankari Kaur. Sankari Kaur, you familiar with that? As you're coming up, on your left there's a hill that's called, what's it called? Anyway, Vilaska. And that is the head of Lord Vishnu. And on the right, there are hills. There's actually 4 hills. And they are the 4 heads of Lord Brahma. And in between is this narrow gully. It goes down to the village of Chitradevi, called Chiksoli. So, devotees and friends, Krishna and the cowherd boys, well, Radharani and the gopis, they would move around that area because Radharani lived there while Krishna was living at more Chatika, Vrndavan area, or partly at Nandagram. So anyway, the gopis move around with dairy products on their heads. And Krishna and the cowherd boys, they try to stop them and charge tax. Yeah. So one day the gopis were coming up from Chiksoli at the bottom, coming up through Sankari Kaur, heading towards the main Varshana village. And Krishna and the cowherd boys were waiting just on the other side. Yeah, just on the Varshana village side. I mean, just right there at the top of the narrow gully. And the gopis came up, and Krishna threw a rock, which knocked the pot of yogurt off Radharani's head, and it smashed on when you're going through the normal way and you're going down. Then on the right, there's a mark which, they say is left from Radharani's yogurt. But anyway, Krishna and the cowherd boys stopped the gopis and tried to charge a toll, a tax, but the gopis were not interested. And Krishna said, we know you girls. We know you girls. You're always sneaking around here, trying to sell your dairy products on the black market. We know all about you, and we are going to stop you. So it ended up the gopis just tried to push through. And there's this fight back and forward, more or less. And particularly the gopis like to harass Madhu Mangal. If you know Madhu Mangal, Krishna's funny Brahmin friend. Because he likes Madhu Mangal. He's got a bit of an attitude because he's a Brahmin. Yeah. And he's a staunch brahmachari. So he doesn't really deal with ladies. So, and what he does, usually he likes to insult the gopis. That you're just girls. Ha, ha, ha. Who cares about you? So in these types of situations, and it happened here, some of them surrounded Madhu Mangal and poured yogurt all over him. And he was crying and saying, you girls, if you don't watch out, you'll become guilty of the sin of drowning a Brahmin. And they just laughed and poured more yogurt over him. So, like this, the Krishna and the cowherd boys, they were victorious. And the gopis had to retreat back to Chiksoli, the village of Chitradevi. And Krishna and the cowherd boys came down little later, and they wanted to raid the butter storehouse of Chitradevi's father. So they found it. It was unlocked. They went in, and they're eating butter when Radharani and Chitradevi walked by outside, and they saw what was going on, and they locked them in. So suddenly Krishna and the cowherd boys, they're in trouble. They're locked in. But there was one window up the top, right up the top. So one by one they climbed up through the window and escaped, except for Madhu Mangal, because he is plump. He's a prasadam specialist. So he is quite plump. He managed to climb up. He got his head out. He got his shoulders out. He got his chest out. But when it came to his stomach got caught. And now he's stuck. He's trying to go, but he can't go. And he's stuck in the window. And the gopis came. And they opened the door. And they saw, they all escaped. Oh no. But then they saw up in the window, what is that? With a couple of, legs flapping. And they understood, it is Madhu Mangal's rear end. Aha. So they took it in turns with sticks to whack him on the rear end. And Madhu Mangal his head is out, And they hit him. And he, oh, Krishna, help, help, Krishna. But Krishna had gone. So they grabbed his legs and pulled him in. Yes. And they marched him over. Just next to the village, it's quite close, is a kund. Very nice kund. Radha Sarovar is the official name. And they tied string to his sikha. He has a long sikha. They tied string to it, threw the string over the branch of a tree, and took turns pulling on his sikha. And there's, Madhu Mangal, oh, Krishna, help! And Krishna came. And Krishna told the gopis, you know what? You have just done big Brahman aparad. Big Brahman aparad. And you know what? If you don't make up for this, each one of you, because they're at this stage they're all unmarried, each one of you is going to be the 99th wife of some cranky old man. Yeah. So you better make up for your offense. You better apologize and, do whatever he wants you to do to make up for it. So they approached Madhu Mangal and they apologized. And he said, yes, that was very big Brahman aparad. And I am a very big Brahman. And they said, well, what can we do to make up for it? Madhu Mangal said, I want 10,000 laddus. Now. They ran home. They got 10,000 laddus. And now they're feeding Madhu Mangal laddus one by one. And Madhu Mangal, he has, with his right hand, he has two special things he does. One is he offers blessings. Other is he asks for donations. That's Madhu Mangal. So now Madhu Mangal, after about 2,000 or 3,000 laddus, he was feeling pretty good. And he's sort of forgotten about, all the problems. So he's feeling good. And one girl's feeding him laddu. And he said, would you like something? Would you like a blessing? Ashirvad. Apko, tumko. Ashirvad chahiye. And the gopi said, well, could I have Krishna as my husband? And he said, yes, let it be. And the next one came and feeding him more laddus. Would you like a blessing? Well, yes. Could I also have Krishna as my husband? Yes, let it be. So it all worked out. He got his 10,000 laddus. He was really happy. And all the gopis, each one got his infallible blessing to get Krishna as their husband. So as they say, again, they all lived happily ever after. Okay. Or should I carry on? Oh, one more. Okay. All right. This is a pastime from Yavat. It's one of the famous 4 pastimes from Yavat. Yeah. So anyway, well, if you're familiar, I'll just tell you a little bit of the background. Yavat is where Radharani lived when she was married. She was married to a person named Abhimanyu, not the son of Arjuna, but there's another Abhimanyu. His mother is, her name is Jatila, which means she who has a very special jat. You know what a jat is? A jat is when you have really long hair, not like mine, but like down to your feet or really long, and you wind it up and you put it up. This is a jat. And normally, traditionally, to keep it up, they mix tree resin with it. It's like glue. And so it sets. And then your jat doesn't fall to the side. You know? So she's Jatila because she has the best jat. And her daughter is Kutila and the son is Abhimanyu. And Abhimanyu is, you know, what would you say in Hindi? You would say Murk. Or you might say Mahamurk. Or Mega Murk. He's really like that. And Srimati Radharani is, you know, literally the most qualified young lady who exists. So they're about as incompatible as it's possible to get a couple, but by the arrangement of Purnamasi, they were married. But the problem was that Radharani, whenever she would go out, she would meet with Krishna or try to meet with Krishna. And it was like it was a scandal. So Jatila decided one day, from this day, Radharani is not going out again. And if Mother Yashoda wants her to cook for Krishna, she can cook here, someone can come and pick it up and take it to Nandagram. But she is not leaving the premises. So for Radharani, that was devastating. And she entered a state almost like death. But Lalita, her closest girlfriend, who's extremely clever, got a very clever idea. She came and told Jatila that, you know what's happened? A snake has bitten Radharani, your daughter-in-law. It was the snake of separation. That's what it was. It wasn't like a real snake. But this is part of her strategy. A snake has bitten your daughter-in-law. You have to get a snake doctor now, or else she's going to die. She is hardly breathing. So Jatila had to run out to find a snake doctor. And she's looking around. Who should she find but, well, she bumped into Gargi, the daughter of Garga Muni, and granddaughter of Purnamasi, I think. Anyway, yeah. And Gargi knew about the situation with Radharani. She can't go out. And, you know, it's very, very, very difficult for her. So she had a plan. So Jatila came out and said, do you know where there's a snake doctor? I need one now. And Gargi said, you know what? You're in luck. My cousin from South India, who is an expert snake doctor, has arrived yesterday. Here she is coming. She'll help you. And up came this young girl, very beautiful and very dark-skinned. Take a guess. It's someone in disguise. It's Krishna in disguise. But he's such an expert in disguise, she couldn't tell. And Jatila said, "You got to come. Come now. My daughter-in-law, she's going to die. She's been bitten by a snake. Please come. Please come." And the girl, the snake doctor, do you remember what her name was? Vidyavali. I don't think it was. But anyway, snake doctor. Snake doctor plays it cool and says, "Well, I don't know if I want to walk around in public, because I have heard there's one young boy around here named Krishna who harasses the young girls, and my reputation is too important, so I don't think I'll come." And Jatila begged her, "Please, please, if he comes, I'll protect you from him. Don't worry. Please come, you must come." So she agreed. All right, all right, all right. So she came. And they walked in. And there is Radharani lying there. She is practically not breathing. Practically not breathing. And the snake doctor said, "I have to do a special, very special treatment. I have to do it alone. You all have to go." So out they went. Jatila went out also. And she, I think her name was Vidyavali, locked the door from the inside. After about 15 minutes or so, the snake doctor talked through the door and said, "You know what? Your daughter-in-law has been bitten by the snake of Lord Shiva." Yes. "And I have called the snake of Lord Shiva. He is here. And he wants to speak to you, Jatila." So then through the door comes the voice of the snake. And the snake says, "Yes, I am the snake of Lord Shiva. And I have come to kill you." And Jatila said, "You want to kill me? Why did you bite my daughter-in-law? If you want to kill me, just bite me. Just bite me." And the snake said, "No, if I bite you, you will simply die in a few hours. But if your daughter-in-law dies, you will suffer for the rest of your life. Therefore I have bitten her." And Jatila said, but why? Why? What have I done? What have I done? And the snake said, "You have insulted the Lord of my Lord Shiva. You have insulted Krishna. So I want you must take back everything you've said and promise never to say anything against Krishna. And if your daughter-in-law ever meets with Krishna, let them meet." So Jatila said, yes, whatever you want. They can meet any time. They can meet. It's no problem. And I'm so sorry that I said anything against Krishna. I'm an old lady. And I'm a cranky old lady, and we say funny things sometimes. So please forgive me. And the snake said, "All right, I will take back my poison." So a few minutes later, the door opened, And there's Vidyavali, the snake doctor, and Radharani. And Radharani is fine. And Jatila said, "Where's the snake?" And the snake doctor said, "Oh, he's gone back to Kailash. Don't worry about him." So then, Jatila was there, and Abhimanyu, the husband of Radharani, was there. And Jatila said, "Now, give the snake doctor a big hug. I want to see you do it. It's an order from your mother-in-law. I'm your superior." And Abhimanyu said, "And I am ordering you also. Give her a big hug." So Radha and Krishna embraced for a long time. And as they embraced, there's a very nice prayer there. Radharani is thinking, how amazing these pastimes in Vrndavan are. This person, Krishna, who, if he comes within 100 meters of me, Jatila has a heart attack and chases him away. Now, on her order, I'm embracing him. How wonderful are the pastimes of Vrndavan. And it's true. How wonderful are the pastimes of Vrndavan. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. Ho gaya.